Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Ginge.
It's your boy Juice.
And we have a very special guest here for you today, Z-Trip, the DJ.
What's up, man?
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm doing pretty good. Oh, man. Battle of the Bands coming up.
Battle of the Bands is coming up.
How are y'all feeling about that?
Pretty mellow about that.
Honestly, it's got me pumped, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to see some ginger stripes up there go crazy.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to try. But no, I've been seeing some videos on YouTube of you DJ, and there's like thousands of people, just literally thousands of people up there.
Cell phones upon cell phones.
Yeah, upon. And so we got a few questions we want to ask you.
Yeah.
So, Juice, why don't you start off for
I'm
us?
going to go ahead and open it up for you, Z-Trip. DJ Z-Trip.
Yes, sir.
I need you to tell me a little bit about that name. How did you get your name?
Well, it's really I wish there was something way cooler. It's my name is Zach. That's where the Z comes from. And in high school, a friend of mine was like, "Yo, man, you're a trip. I'm gonna call you Z-Trip." I was like, "Yeah, cool, man, whatever." And like literally, that turned into like 2 people called me that, and then 3, and then 4, and all of a sudden, he's like, "Yo, man, Z-Trip." And I was like, "That's kind of cool. It has a ring to it." And here we are. You know, many years later, it's stuck.
It's crazy because me and Ginge was thinking about this the whole time, like, who gave him the nickname? It was like, oh, yeah, me and Z was just walking, and then he tripped. And then it was like,
Exactly.
And he was on the floor. He was like, oh, man, boom. They called me.
There it is.
They called me. Boom.
That's it.
And I was like, wow, it had to be something innovative like that because my nickname, Juice, I got that, and it was just like one of my homeboys, Terry. He was just,
That's usually how it happens, right? Like somebody
Yeah.
just bestows you, here's your name. And you're like, okay, whether you like it or not, it just sticks.
now I'm stuck with Juice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, oh, you got the juice? I don't.
Oh, you got the juice.
Okay, so I mean, that's real iconic though, and thank you for sharing that with us. But we're gonna go a little bit into music right now, cause music is everything for me personally. But when did you find yourself finding your groove?
You know what's interesting? I think it was when I was a teenager, man. I was just listening, music was always around the house. I grew up in a very musical family. My brother played guitar, always had music and records happening. My mom played guitar, sang, played keys. My sister sang. I played drums a little bit. So like for me, growing up in a house that you could play music and share music, I found it like it was just instinctively for me to gravitate towards that. Although my teenage years is when I started buying records for myself, and once I started finding my own sound and my own thing that I gravitated to, that's when it was like, okay, this is going to be a huge part of my life. I didn't realize it was going to be my job, you know what I mean, as a teenager, but like down the years, I just paid more attention to it than anything else, and I found that I got more pleasure out of it and more. It was just more excitement, you know what I mean? So the more I put into it, the more I got out of it. And when I DJ'd my first couple parties, and we're talking house parties, like high school, that kind of style, school dance, whatever. I remember like I did, I was getting a little money here and there, a little $50, $100, whatever, case of beer, whatever it was. You're like, cool, yeah. Whatever you could take, whatever money you could take and go back and buy more records was kind of the deal. But once in high school, when my high school that I was still like I think I was a junior at the time in high school, and they asked me to DJ my prom. And I was like,
whoa.
To DJ your own prom in your high school and to actually get a paycheck from your school was like, there was a moment there where I was like, okay, I'm onto something. So like, let's let's keep trying to do this. You know what I mean? So.
I can just see because my spirit, my physical, my spirit, and my mental are all, products of my music choice, because I feel like I'm nothing without music. I walk around with headphones. I got headphones on deck. It's like a strap.
Always.
So you pull it out. Hey, boom. So what does hip-hop and music do for you spiritually, physically, and mentally?
Well, I mean, it's basically how I studied everything. I mean, everything kind of comes through that prism for me. Hip-hop was, once I started realizing that there was truth behind what I was hearing, not just musically, but like,
it's always truth
spoken word stuff that was happening, and learning about history and culture that from a different perspective, and realizing that there's a little bit more of truth to what I was hearing versus what I was being taught in school. You know what I mean? Like, once I started hearing and seeing that, I started realizing, like, there's way more chaos in hip-hop as far as, there's people who are just bragging and boasting and just talking, smack about whatever. But at the flip side of that, there's really genius lyrics of people really going deep and really, spitting truth. So if I can navigate through that, I can really find what I'm looking for. And through that prism, it allows me to sort of take anything that the outside world would show me and allows me to sort of process it through a hip hop filter. You know what I mean? And then I can really be like, okay, where's this coming from? And I got to give credit to people like Chuck D and KRS-One.
Thank you.
Those are the people who hearing them spit really made me open my eyes. I'll give you a good example. There's a song where KRS says
self-destruction.
No, I forget which. It's off of I think the second or third record, but one of the chorus was Jesus Christ was black, right? And it's like, okay, as a kid growing up, you always just see white Jesuses everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
And when he broke it down, he's like, well, look, Jesus was from this region. This is if you believe in Jesus and everything else, but just follow along with the idea. It's like, okay, if he what he was saying in the rhyme is, if Jesus grew up in this region, how could he be like a long-haired white guy in a region of people who had darker skin? Mm-hmm. So it's like that kind of obvious, like, yeah, that's so obvious. But me as a kid walking around America seeing white Jesus everywhere, that's just what I was, that's what you assume is to be true. So those kinds of things, and then just like really questioning, even going deeper onto that, talking about the Bible and how things were, he's like, you're reading from a dead book. I remember him saying that, and I was like, well, that's pretty heavy. And well, why? And it's like, well, think about it. If the original, it's like a bad game of telephone. If the original message is X, and over the course of years, and kings who have conquered people and taken all their stuff and rewritten things, by the time it gets to you, it's completely a different, letter in the alphabet. It's like the bad game of telephone where it's like, in the classroom where it's like, hey, start it, Johnny. All right, Johnny loves Sally. By the time it gets around, it's like, we're all going to go to lunch later. It's like it's a whole different message, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because somewhere along the chain, somebody rewrites it. So those kinds of things just made me go, that's so obvious. But hip-hop had, that's how I got sort of, conscious.
Woke, yeah.
So, so to me, like sonically, it was one thing because it moved me because of the drums and the rhythms and things like that. But the message, what was behind it, made me realize, like, I'm learning more from that than I am in these textbooks. Like, it's cool to learn proper things like math and things like that are, there's a, 2 + 2 is 4. It's a given, you know what I mean? But as far as theories on things, just at a younger age, you know what I mean? I'm 15, 16, walking around my high school, in my mind going like, yo, Jesus Christ was black, you know what I mean? Like, none of my other friends that were my age that weren't listening to this music were even on that. They were all like, yo, we're going to go see the high school football game tonight or whatever. Like me, I'm on some whole other.
And I'm trying to make my brain smarter.
Yeah, just trying to get woke, basically, yeah.
I want to thank you first for being my musical elder, because I do search for more music in different ways to like broaden my horizon. So I need to hear a little bit about this, and I do a little research,
Mm-hmm.
That's
cool.
Just a little bit, just a tad bit of research, and I heard you're the pioneer of Mashup movement. I want you to explain that a little bit.
Well,
tell us a little bit of what Mashup movement is and how it influenced you.
Well, the whole mashup thing, I think what it is really, for me, a lot of people label me as that, as a pioneer of the hip hop or the mashup movement, which is fine. But to me, that was kind of what hip hop was doing when I first got exposed to it. Okay. You listen to people like Bambaataa, Kool Herc, Jazzy J, Grandmaster Flash, all these guys, the early DJs that were DJing these events were taking music, especially Bambaataa. He was taking rock records, Kraftwerk records, James Brown records, mixing them all together and making this kind of this sound that was nobody else had that sound.
Kind of, but
it was a melting pot of all music, and so, but it was based around beats, and then you had people rapping over top of it eventually. But to me, that was the blueprint of how a DJ should be is incorporate music from everywhere. So the thing is over the course of however many years, it stopped becoming hip hop and it became rap music. You know what I mean? And so then it just got centered around the MC and just the music and not the culture. So to me, when I started to really sort of, I would do those parties where you're just playing nothing but rap records, which is fine. But when I had a chance to actually put some stuff out, I was like, let me take from all my influences and put them on a mix and put them out there. And it wasn't like I was the first guy to do it. There's plenty of other people doing it. I just took sort of the blueprint and really put a big light on it. And I think at the time, so many people were like, everything was segregated. It was like you'd walk into a record store, there'd be like, the rap section, the world section, the funk section, the jazz section, and all those sections kind of wouldn't talk to each other in a sense. Like, it's kind of that thing. It's like if you like jazz music, you only like jazz. If you like country, you only like country.
Period, yeah.
And to me, I never really subscribed to that because I liked all kinds of music. So I was like, let me make music and do mixes and perform where I incorporate everything. And it's a little risky because at the time, you know, you go to a hip hop club or a rap, you know, night where you're playing all rap music and you try and put a Pink Floyd song on or a Led Zeppelin song or something, people wouldn't really know what to do with it. But if you mixed it right, you're sort of introducing them to new flavors. And that was kind of my whole thing. So around that time when I put out this mixtape called Uneasy Listening with this guy, DJ P, who was also another guy.
Shout out to DJ P.
Yeah, he was also another guy who's doing the same kind of mixing that I was. People kind of knew me for that and knew him for that. But when we did that, it really cracked the door open. And I think it exposed a lot of people to that style of mixing, which at the time they labeled mashup. We just called it blending. You're just blending records, you know what I mean? So, but it's kind of funny because that kicked open the door for a lot of things for me. But, you know, again, it just goes back to the whole concept of mashup, which is funny because it was funny after that you started to see guys with like call themselves mashup DJs and you'd see a flyer to be like, come Friday night, mashup DJ. It's like, you know, I'm playing mashups and I'm a mashup. And to me, it's just the concept of mixing anyway. So mashup is kind of a redundancy. Like that's what you should be doing as a DJ anyway. So the term we kind of laughed at because it was like, I'm a mashup DJ. So you're a mixing DJ. So that's what you do anyway. So it was kind of like a redundant thing. But, you know, it's cool. It opened some doors for me and got people to see sort of check me out, you know, who wouldn't normally be checking me out. So, you know, it was a good thing.
Somebody somewhere is thanking 107.1 for that knowledge because, like, you're so woke, and I'm so blessed to be in the opportunity to talk to you right now because I'm learning right now.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'm really learning. I got 2 more questions for you.
Sure.
Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about genre right now, and I'm just going to throw 2 out there. House music and hip-hop music. So hip-hop, I would say, is completely everything from rap to hip-hop.
Sure.
R&B, all that. I put all that in there in hip-hop. House music is house music.
Sure.
So, I mean, I want to kind of ask which one would be your favorite?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it kind of goes back to the labeling thing. Like, obviously, house music has to be – people have to quantify what it is to put a label on it so they can differentiate between certain things. But house music to me is at the very root is just 4-on-the-floor rhythm. It's really a rhythm. It's not so much – like that's the sort of what defines a groove, a house groove, is 4-on-the-floor. So, you know, if you take it on that level, then you look at it like it's just like a samba beat or a swing beat. It's like if you just take it into this rhythm is this kind of style. But as far as I just lump it all together, man. Hip hop, house, funk, breaks, you know, dance hall, everything. To me, I just lump it all into one thing. And if I like it, I like it. And if it has a certain quality, then in that sense, I sort of put it into like, oh, this is a 125 4-on-the-floor thing. I don't necessarily say it's house or tech house or, you know, progressive house or gabber. You know, it's like all these people get really intricate into their, you know, and to me, like, you can do that if you really want to do that. But to me, I try and simplify my filters and just, if it's dope, then it goes in my crate. If it's 125 beats per minute, then it lives there next to the other 125 beats per minute dope stuff. You know what I mean? Period.
DJ Z-Trip, for so long, I tell you, for so long, I have been a person that's a melody first person. And honestly, I've learned to change since the Blueprint came out with the very first Blueprint with Jay-Z.
Really?
Yeah, and that opened up my mind to lyrics. And I started to become more of a person that represents culture instead of just if it's hot or not, because the song doesn't even have to be fire to me no more. If you spitting truth, I'm listening to it.
Yeah.
The beat could be trash.
Yeah. Well, that's you have to. It's funny because as a DJ, I was always listening to groove first as well. Like groove always sort of got me. Beats, you know, I'm always listening for breaks and little idiosyncrasies in between, like hi-hat hits, and like I'm that meticulous. But so sometimes you just sort of flush out, especially when there was a lot of rappers who were just talking nonsense. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, we got a lot of mumble rappers out there.
There's a lot of that.
That's crazy.
So you know, but the beat could be dope, or vice versa. The lyrics could be amazing, but the beat's whack. To me, I try and you know, if that's the case, then I'm hunting for the acapella, so I can actually use that to put over something better to try and make it, you know, better for me as a DJ. That's kind of the thing. But I think it's about trying to keep an ear out for both, because sometimes, you know, a great beat with a horrible MC, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. But you take that same beat and put a great MC on it, now you've got, it's like peanut butter and jelly. You know? You can't have a jelly and jelly sandwich. You need peanut butter and jelly. You know what I mean?
Or a jelly and a strawberry jellies.
However, if that's what gets you off, though, then that could be a thing.
Yeah, then you got, you know what I'm saying? I didn't seen the honey.
But for me, that's I just try and weed out the garbage, man. Period. Like, if it's good, it's good, and I don't really put a label on it, and I try to expose it to other people and set it up in a certain way. Like, there's certain songs that I love to play, but it's going to take me about an hour to get you on my level before I can, bust that tune out. I can't just come out of the gate with that tune.
Yeah, you don't just bring fire.
Yeah,
to like
it's like it's like hors d'oeuvres. It's like a 5-course meal. Like, you can't just come with your dessert right at the beginning. It's got to be at the end.
This is a real DJ right here, y'all. Like, I know it's other real DJs out there, but man, we got one in the booth. Okay, so my last question for you, DJ Z Trip. And I know this is going to sound like so basic, but where has music taken you in this world? Because I'm dying to know. I've seen some things, and I just want to hear it from your mouth.
It's taken me all over the world. I've played in places and played to people that I never thought I was going to play. And for that, I'm truly grateful, because I've always made it about the music first and the connection with people, in that same sort of parallel.
Yeah, God bless you.
And man, it's not my thing to put ego in front of it, because it does nothing for me. So it's really about trying to connect and trying to see who else I can reach. And also it's about learning from them. So it's like, if I go to Iceland, and I DJ in Iceland, while I'm in Iceland, I'm trying to learn all the stuff I can about Icelandic music. I'm trying to submerge myself in that culture and try different foods and walk around their habitat and see what's what, so I can take whatever I have from there and bring it back to my home base and come back, a little bit more enlightened. And again, if I go somewhere else and it's like, oh, what would work here? That thing that I did in Iceland, I'll do that here. And I'm in Tokyo, and then I'm over in where was it? Azerbaijan. You know what I mean? We're talking.
Educate me right now, DJ. Educate me.
Like Azerbaijan was a place where we had the Red Bull 3 style World Championships, and that place was, we're talking Middle East, and I'd never been there. I had no clue what to expect. But here's the funny thing about, again, you go into these certain places, whether it's really remote, Fairbanks, Alaska, or you're going to.
I got a homie from Fairbanks.
Wherever you're going, whether it's a super tiny spot or it's a thousands and thousands of people. The whole thing is about really just sort of trying your hardest to connect with the crowd and just really take everything else aside and learn from them and teach them, but also, always a student, in a weird way. You have to come back and grab something that you've learned from them, whatever it is, and try and infuse that back into the culture. So if I go, if I come back from someplace, I don't want to just come back and just play, my set that I just normally play. I want to take a little piece of that and infuse that into what I, because I'm constantly trying to evolve. You know what I mean? There's so much music out there, so many different cultures, and so many things that you'll never hear. So, whether I'm Australia, whether I'm, in Europe somewhere, or even just even here, Flagstaff. It's like,
shout out to Flagstaff.
Yeah, what up, Flagstaff? You know what I mean? So, it's to me, it's. No place is better than another or bigger than another. They're all equal to me after a while, because it's I could do something here that changes my life more so than I could do playing in front of 20,000 people. You know what I mean? Like, you can't say one is better than the other. To me, it's whether I'm learning one little thing or learning a million things. I just am always trying to learn, and also how to better myself and better my brand, better my my music knowledge and my skill set, like all of it. Anytime I'm doing anything, I'm trying to learn, and it's really about interacting with people and just trying to be open to new things and share things. I want to share. I want to know what you're listening to. I want you to know what I'm listening to. I want us to swap music before I leave, and
for sure,
that's how because we can do that now. There used to be a time where, in order to do that, we'd have to send each other cassette tapes, or you know what I mean? Not even emails. I'm talking before, way back in the day.
About Boxman.
Yeah, way back in the day. It's I remember as a teenager, there was a guy who I had a pen pal thing with in the UK, who was sending me all this UK music that I didn't know anything about.
All cassettes,
and some cassettes and some vinyl. He'd send me some things, and I would take those. That's when I was here. And I would play them in house parties in Phoenix, and people would be like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Yeah, this just came in from Norway."
They're like, "Oh,"
you know what I mean? So exactly. So to me, it's always been about trying to share and expose and just integrate music. Period.
I really do respect that. You're a lifelong learner. I'm a lifelong learner.
Always.
I think that is one of the greatest aspects to have as a person. Continue to go out there and seek knowledge and incorporate that knowledge into the things that you know.
Definitely. And try and break music. Try and play new music for people in environments where they're not expecting it. You know what I mean? Like, you got to do that. That's, as a DJ, if you're just playing the hits over and over and not taking chances, then to me, you're kind of just doing the basic, you know what I mean?
The norm.
Yeah. So it's about taking all these experiences and trying to expose other people. You know, to me, one of my favorite compliments. I was having a conversation the other day about this. Is I play all these different places, whether it's huge festivals or a little club. But sometimes the little clubs are great when you're playing and there's a jaded door guy who's been there for like 20 years who comes up to me at the end of the show and is like, "Listen, man, I've been working here for 20 years. I hate this place. I hate my job. I hate the music. I hate everything. But what you did tonight, I really liked, man. I liked what I heard." And you're like, that's the best compliment because this dude hears it, tunes it out, is jaded. So if you can, find one or two tunes that open somebody up, that's what you want to be as a DJ.
I live for those moments. Jens, you over there? What you got something to say?
I know you live for those moments.
Yeah, Jens,
but,
get up there.
I got 3 questions here for you real quick. So we've been talking a lot about music and fantastic words of wisdom, honestly.
Thank you so much, DJ.
Yeah, man.
Really blessed. So what are your influences outside of music?
That's a good question. So I mean, I started out doing art. Art was my thing before I really got deep into music. It was sort of hand in hand.
Yeah,
I love art too,
So to me, I always am paying attention to any kind of artistic expression. Normally, it started out with graffiti artists back in the day because that was sort of the thing I was the most intrigued with. Used to write a little bit, but seeing just how people take images and art in general and start to put their own spin on things, or again, it's real cliche, but outside of the box thinking through art, you start to really see other perspectives. And to me, I get inspired by that. From time to time when I have time to go to museums and certain places, I try and absorb as much as I can, because music, I know, is a constant escape for me, and it's a constant thing of source of inspiration. But I find that if I can see somebody else's point of view expressed through art, and I can take 8 or different sort of perspectives away from one thing, that's the thing I'm super inspired by. And it could be anything. It could be a music video. It could be art on a wall. It could be art in the street. Sometimes some of my favorite art is just, like, it's going to sound really stupid, but I love reading bathroom graffiti. Oh. It's the most...
Oh, I second that in motion because subway graffiti.
Yeah, man.
I'm from Chicago, so like, oh man, you see people's lives on there.
Well, yeah, when you're tapped into the raw expression, to me, that's the thing I really enjoy too, because there's some poetry within that, you know what I mean? And you can, if there's a lot of nonsense on there, people just writing nonsense, but every so often you get a couple gems, you're like, okay,
this is hard. This is soul.
Yeah, yeah, and also just even the hand style and how they did it, and it's like there's just a whole sort of thing to that to me, I've always enjoyed that. Like if you go into a spot and the stall is completely bombed, you know what I mean? As long as the door works and they got toilet paper, I'm good. But like, most of the best graffiti in stalls are in the spots that just nobody gives a shit when you walk in there. It's it's just hammered. The whole bathroom is hammered. But you might find me in there like, walking around like it's a museum. Like, oh, look at this scholar.
Chris Brown and Tekashi 69. They have like some of the most fire graffiti to me. Like Chris Brown, everything that he does, like with a pen or pencil, paint, godly. Tekashi, I only seen him do a couple. Chief Keef, he's getting there, but you can tell where it's really coming from.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I love art too, man.
But yeah, that's as far as like that's one of my other inspirations is just seeing people. Shepard Fairey is another amazing artist. He's a good friend, and it's been great to actually see him evolve over the years. But to see the stuff he's putting together is again another form of expression where it's like you're really getting 5 or 6 or different ideas off of one image, and I love that. I love when you can it's not just on the nose. There's a lot of like on the third third layer you can actually see there's more pieces to it that you're not picking up on first glance.
Oh yeah, I loved learning about that in school. I took a class last year. They were just like, look at this image, and you're like, okay, I see a dog, and then you look closer. There's like
this is a
other stuff in the dog and what it means and all that stuff.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So the next question. So I did do some research of my own, and I looked up this YouTube video, and you were DJing, you know, doing your stuff out there, getting on, and there was just like the crowd was just insane. And so I have to know what the feeling is like before you get up on that stage.
Run.
Yeah, well, it's I mean, you know, there's always a level of nerves. I think if you don't have those, you're really not, you know, your heart's not beating. You know what I mean? Like you have to have this level of like, you know, I think if you're a performer and you go up on stage and you don't have butterflies to some level, then that might be a sign to sort of like rethink it or just reapproach it. For me, so there's always that level. But, you know, the thing is, once you get up there, once you start going, once you're 2 minutes into it, that to me is when it gets very personal. You know what I mean? There could be, you know, the biggest crowd I ever DJ'd for was 450,000 people. It's like 500,000 people. You know what I mean?
That's how you get me to faint real
Yeah, but the thing is, the interesting thing about that is when you're DJing to that many people, you're performing for that many people, it kind of just, you sort of just glaze over that, and you just, for me, all of a sudden I'm back in my bedroom back in the day just DJing. Because you have to take the pressure out of that. You have to not really be so concerned about every single one, you know, in there. You just sort of look, all right, you guys are one entity. So now I'm just DJing to one thing as opposed to 450 things. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you kind of sort of quantify that as like, it's just a conversation I'm having with this one entity, it makes it way easier. You take the pressure off and you just, you know, you realize, okay, you know, they're all watching me and that's great, but I'm just going to go through my motions of how I would interact anyway. And to me, that it's funny because whether it's, you know, thousands of people or whether it's a small bar with, you know, a couple hundred people, I've done both, and I actually prefer to do both. I like the fact that in my career, I've had the ability and still have the ability to play big festivals and then small little intimate settings. Like that's what keeps it fun for me. Like there's certain things you can get away playing for 300 people in a small intimate venue where you can look them in the eyes and you can see and you can gauge the reaction versus, you know, you playing for a huge festival where, you know, you can't really see everybody and you can't connect with everybody. You know, they're all out there. So I like the balance of both, and I approach them both differently.
All right,
that's some knowledge.
I
haven't never been in a position where I could learn so much.
I appreciate that.
No, like seriously.
No, so we do this thing on our show, Ginger Juice, where we ask the person this one question every time, and we want to know yours. So what could you tell those out there who are trying to pursue their dreams but don't really know how to go about it, or they get knocked down and they don't know if they could get back up? What kind of advice could you give those people out there?
Well, I think there's some obvious things that are, you know, they might sound cliche, but they're very obvious.
We live for them.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, you have to want to do this for the right reasons first. Like the motivation is crucial. If you're motivated by you know, anything other than passion, if you're motivated by money or trying to get friends or whatever it is, you know, and I'm sort of speaking a little more general to DJing and music, but this I guess could apply to anything. But you have to be passionate about what you do, and you know that's really tough because if you're working at a job that you don't love, but you have a passion and you're trying to do your thing, I'm a big fan of, you know, getting to the point where you can actually make the transition where you're gonna suffer. That's in general. You can't just swing from vine to vine and think, cool, I landed this other gig. I've been working at this bank for, you know, however many years, and I've got, you know, benefits and all this stuff, and now all of a sudden I want to go out and play the violin. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to fall right on your ass, and it's going to hurt, and if you really are passionate about doing this, you're going to find a way to make it happen. And I feel like with music, especially as a DJ, if you're trying to start and trying to come out, I think it's about trying to make it be about getting in front of as many eyeballs as often as you can in any circumstances and not setting any sort of level of like, well, it's only got to be a bar. It's only got to be like in front of the right crowd. It's like, no, you want to go out and you want to, you know, if you're a comedian, you do that comedy in front of anybody. If there's 4 people, you do it in front of 4 people. If it's 4,000, you do it in front of 4,000. And make it be about the passion of learning and understanding your craft and honing your craft and getting those 10,000 hours, you know, 100,000 hours, whatever it is. Like locking into that. That's A, passion. B, it's about practicing. You can't just go and do your event and then come back home and you know, okay, go about your business. You got to come back home and go back to work. Like you got to live, eat, breathe. There's a thing I saw on, it was like VH1 years ago. And they had the little bumpers between things, and they were like to Ace Frehley, who was the guitarist for Kiss, the original guitarist for the group Kiss. They said, hey, man, what does it take to make it? And he's like, well, first you got to dedicate your whole life to this thing, and you got to practice out all these hours, and you got to sacrifice family, friends, birthdays, your own health, everything to get good enough. And then once you get to that level, then you got to compete with all the other guys who are doing the same thing. And it was like, holy shit, you're like, that's really real talk. And the thing is, once you then get into that pool, then you got to be better than the rest of them. And so, and you know, the odds of making it are slim to none. You know what I mean? That's the reality of it. But if your drive and your determination and your motivation to make it is bigger than the you know, the doubt or the if a door gets shut in your face, you just get persistence, you know, practice, persistence, you know. To me, those are the things that are going to take you over, but you have to do it because you love it. You know what I mean? It's got to be something that, like, to me, music is something I was already doing and would have been doing anyway. I just realized that at some point, like, okay, I could make a little bit of money off this, and how can I parlay this into the rest of my life? And, you know, and I'll tell you this still, even to this day, there are months where it's like, yo, it's a quiet month. You know what I mean? I might only be doing 2 things this month. And you sort of stop and go, is this the way it's going to be for the rest of my life? And then all of a sudden, you know, next month you're hit with 30 things. You're like, oh my God, I have no time to do anything. So like, it's this thing of like the ebb and flow of you can't, you know, stress over the downside, the downtime. You have to actually take that downtime and figure out a way to convert that into studying, learning, practicing, making it be about, you know, everything. Because the other thing too is, you know, when the call comes for you to do your thing, you got to be ready to do that. To action. And if you're not, or if you know, there's going to be some other hungry person out there who's going to take it from you, and that's the reality. So if you're going to be about it, you got to really be about it, and you got to be willing to sacrifice everything to do it. But also, once you get to a point where you've had some, you know, you established yourself, that's when you can kind of take a break and take a breather and be like, okay, you know what, I can take a month off. I can go back and redo some of the things that I need to do. But it's hard, man. It's not easy, you know what I mean? And it's not set up for people who aren't in it for the long haul. You've got to really be committed to it, you know. And then, like I said, you might even get a chance to take it further. Yeah. But, you know,
I really do think that in order for people to really like find themselves and keep going with motivation, you gotta step outside of the box.
Yeah.
And get outside your comfort zones.
Exactly.
Because that's the only thing that's going to push you to move. Movement is life.
Yeah. And you got to fail. You got to be told that you're horrible. You got to, you know, you got to be beat down, kicked down, so you can know what it's like to fail, so you know how to bounce back from that.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, the funny thing is, once you get over that hump, the things that you really that I find, it's just about maintenance. Once you get over a hump, then it's maintaining. How do I maintain this or do better? And to do that, it's a lot of the stuff that, you know, people will say or things that will come your way that are negative things. You got to figure out, how do I take that? Like, I mean, look, last night was a great example. You know what I mean? I'm flying in. My flight is delayed getting in. I missed my flight to come to Flagstaff, and all of a sudden I'm at Sky Harbor Airport at 11 o'clock at night going, oh, man, I got to drive 2 hours to get to Flagstaff. I got to go rent a car. Look, it's not awesome. That's not the stuff you see. You see pictures of me on the internet of, you know, DJ in front of thousands of people. You don't see me at 11 o'clock tired, hungry, you know, struggling like, oh, man, I got to drive all the way up to Flagstaff. You know, but that's the thing. Like, in doing that, I also love what I do. So as much as that's a negative, I got to figure out a way to turn that into a positive. Okay, well, all right, so that's 2 hours. Maybe I can catch up on some music right now. Oh, maybe I can sort of, I needed 2 hours to think about this project that's on my mind. Like, you got to just take every negative and turn it into a positive and just continually be chipping away at it. You know what I mean?
DJ Z Trip. We are the same.
Word.
I promise you. I think the same way. I bring light to every discussion.
You have to.
Everything. I'm trying to be a walking beacon of hope, and Ginger's helping me.
That's what's up.
I'm trying to.
That's good.
He's like, I'm trying.
I'm trying. No,
hey, put me on chopping block.
I'm there too. But like, my inspiration is Dwayne Johnson.
Everybody
that's listening right now is probably rolling their eyes because of how much I talk about him.
Yeah, we know.
Nah, man.
Like that guy just like being so big and then just saying, he says himself is like, there's always going to be competition.
Yeah.
So like when you said all that stuff about the competition, it just made me think about that. So like it's always, you have to keep improving.
Yeah, man, like the thing, look, there's going to be a million people out there trying to take your spot, a million people trying to take you down, put you down.
Exactly.
You know, a lot of people, because they don't feel good about themselves, they'll project that. I mean, look, if you read any comments on YouTube or anything like that, like people are just tearing people apart left and right. The thing is, you got to look at you got to filter through that and sort of, you know, I was talking to Slug from Atmosphere the other day, and he was talking about how back in the day he would read through all the comments, but if you look at all the comments and you sort of get an aggregate of like what the litmus test is of like, okay, these 30 comments are kind of veering this way. Yeah. Okay, that's a consensus. But if you take like, yeah, man, I don't like your red hair, man. Screw you. Like if you really take that on and you walk around with that negative energy in you, it's gonna eat you up. That person's then got you, and like, who cares about what your hair color is? You know what I mean? Is that even relevant? So
I'm trying. Look, my biggest thing is strength. Oh man, Zach, we're not gonna go there. We're not. Whoa, my boy right here. He's strong.
Oh no.
But that's what I'm saying,
he's strong.
That's anybody.
Air quotes in the booth right now.
There you go. But that's how everyone has to be if you want to conquer things. Is just let all that stuff roll off, man. Like if you take all the negative stuff, there's always, like you said, there's always gonna be competition. There's always gonna be people putting you down. There's always gonna be all that out there. But there's also gonna be plenty of people that you're gonna meet that you're gonna be like-minded, that you're gonna fall into, and you're gonna find your zone and your group of people. So like keep doing what you're doing and just keep putting it out there, and eventually you will find your audience. I mean, especially now, like it's so easy to actually have a group of people that you can like. To me, man, here's the other thing: success. When people talk about success, people usually equate it with money. To me, that's bullshit.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like
1,000.
And also followers, likes. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It means zero. Like sure, there's a lot of people out there who follow things, whatever. But to be honest, McDonald's serves billions of hamburgers. McDonald's hamburgers to me are garbage. Like just because a million people eat them doesn't make them good. You know
Preach.
What I mean? So to me, like anything that deals with you know, some equation with numbers is irrelevant. Because to me, I look at groups that, you know, what is success? De La Soul to me is one of the biggest success stories in hip hop. They've been doing it for years and years and years. They still kill it when you see them perform. They're still together. They've been doing it. Look, their last Kickstarter, they made, you know, crazy amount of money on the thing. But they have a fan base that is forever by their side. And to me, you know, you ask any kid who's listening to any of the Littles right now, and they don't know who De La is, whatever, but that's fine. They are successful in their zone, and they do great, and they'll be legends forever. To me, that's success. It doesn't mean that you sold billions of records or you got this many likes. Like all that stuff, people equate success to that and equate value to that and equate if somebody's good or not. You know, a level of like, yo, that guy's great. He's got 1 million followers. No, it just means 1 million people are following that guy.
Just
period.
1 million people.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, you know, 1 million people can be wrong too. So
for sure.
The way I look at all that stuff, you know, people, the way we quantify success and you know, to me, all that's out, man. Like, don't even worry about that. It's how do you feel inside? How's your clique? How's your unit? How are you operating within that unit? Are you expanding? Are you growing? Are you learning? Are you teaching? Are you learning at the same time? To me, that's all the stuff that matters. And success is all in your mind. Are you living a good life? Are you healthy? Do you have love? Are you giving love? That's all of it to me, man. All the other stuff is nonsense.
I always thought success was just to beneficially leave your name on something in mankind. Because once your name's there, you did a good job as a human for your society. You have benefited to the whole culture, to the whole society as a whole. Yeah. Your name, boom.
But even if you leave your name to one other person and you change their life, that is success. The same level.
Hey,
like
the same success.
You know what I mean? In my opinion, like you know, it's you can't quantify it. You know, it's if you connected with somebody and you change the way they look at life, that's it.
This is like the core of our show. Like we just care about people, man. Right. We just care about people.
That's what's
man.
up.
Success,
that's great.
Promote success. Promote light.
That's what's up.
But we just wanted to. That's all. You got any more questions?
No, I don't have any more questions. Do you have anything that you can leave us with?
Well,
some hot fire.
The only thing I want to drop is this thing I've been working on as of late. You know, I work with LL Cool J. We've been working together for about 7+ years, maybe longer. I forget. But we we've been working on this thing on Sirius XM. I know it's another radio station.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not really trying to pull listeners away from this,
No,
but
no.
if you're in your car and you're listening, Sirius XM Channel 43, we launched Rock the Bells Radio, which is LL Cool J's radio. We took over Backspin, and he and I have been working on that for a long, long time, and there's a whole bunch of good stuff that's on there. So if you love classic hip-hop and you're really into original OG classic hip-hop, that's the station. So I've been working on that and still am working on that with him.
Oh, yeah.
So that's just something I wanted to put out there for people. You know, if you're looking for, you know, the real old stuff, you know, and also some current stuff as well, it's sort of a nice balance, but it's really classic hip-hop for people who want classic, proper hip-hop. So
Shout
out
to
check
LL.
I'm going to check
Yeah.
that out myself, too. Yeah. But,
Rock the Bells Radio.
yeah.
Promos.
Oh, yeah. So, first of all, thank you so much for being
Of course,
here
man.
today.
Thanks for
We
having
really
me.
Please,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
And if you're listening, come out tonight, right? We got a show
yeah,
tonight.
Exactly.
Turning
Well,
up.
yeah, I didn't just walk in here like, hey, man, I just made up Flagstaff.
Yeah, we're going to turn up.
Yeah.
I was actually going to talk about that. So the show tonight is part of NAU Ethnic Studies program with collaboration with Sun Entertainment. So tonight at the Prochnow Auditorium, the doors open at 7, and the show is at 8. So tickets are $5 for students and $15 for the public, online or at the door. So I'm going to try to say these names. You want to say
I got
these
you.
names? Yeah.
Del the Funky Homo Sapien,
There you go.
Talib Kweli,
Talib Kweli, that's
and
the one.
myself.
And
Yeah.
DJ Z-Trip.
DJ Z. Trip.
So thank you. So once again, thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah,
We
man.
really
Thanks for having me,
appreciate
guys.
it. Good luck tonight on your show.
Thank you.
Honestly, we're rooting for you. And
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
honestly, make sure you're listening to 107.1 KJACK Radio. And see you guys tonight.
DJZtrip.com. Go check it out.
There you go. There you go.
Ruh.
Ginger Juice. Out.
Out.